Let's say that you have what's called, we'll call them your faculties. These faculties are your guys. These faculties, you're born with them, okay? And a lot of them you pick up through life. They're instincts as well. Who knows what they are? We could debate that all day. The point is, who cares what they are? They're there. You have them. And these faculties, think of it like, you know how I was making the joke? I was like, yes, like let it go up, right? They're right down here, you know? You have your faculties down here, all right? Some people would call it the universal intelligence. Some people would call it just your brain being able to process everything at once because you're in the right state. I don't care what you call it. But if this is the moment right here, look. If that's the future and that's the past, okay? And this is the moment that you're in, your faculties can only give you what you need, the actions that you need, to where your awareness is. Because do you guys know how memories work? When you remember something, what you do is you generate the emotions that you felt at that time, and then those emotions link up with your memories and then allow you to experience that memory. That's a kind of unscientific, jumbled way of saying it. So look, if you're thinking about something that frustrated you, say it's your last approach, say the last girl blew, you guys ever have a girl blow you off and then you keep feeling that emotion from being blown off? Sure. So if that's the emotion that you're feeling, what images are probably popping into your head and stuff like that? What happened before, right? Now let's say that you're also thinking about this other girl who you're worried might react negatively, which is why you tell a guy, go approach. He goes, I don't want to. Why? Because he doesn't want to be blown off. So now his awareness is going here. And let's say his awareness is going here and here. Well, that's just no good, is it? That's not any good at all. Because really, you want your faculties focused. All right? Like that. That nice uptake. Like a fucking hard line, man. Okay? Between your faculties and you. Okay? Everything that you need. Bang. Straight up. That's what you're looking for. That's what's going to make you like the Lord in the field. All right? That's where that's going to come from. When you can act in the moment, you have those as you need them. So when you think about being in the moment, look. First of all, there is no longer a need to reference your sense of self based on past events. All right? Let me ask you a question. You know all those things, past events that you're annoyed about? If you had a case of amnesia and you could no longer remember your past, would any of those past events still be affecting you?
No.
So why should they now?
No reason.
There's no reason. Of course, we can come up with counterexamples if the effects are permanent, but you know what? Thinking as a victim is no good no matter what. So, it doesn't mean that you're never inside your head learning from past events. It doesn't mean, of course, what is the purpose of learning from past events? We learn from the past, of course, all right? So you can learn from the past. But the point is, you trust in your faculty to carry you forward as the moment unfolds. You experience life more vividly because you're free of all the distracting, useless noise whose only purpose is to bog you down. That's what it really comes down to. At its peak, it's a take things as they come type attitude that flows from a total trust in your faculties, where you've come into equilibrium with the world, and no matter what happens, you know that your mind will be presented with the right course of action, not before, not after, but when and only when you need it. All right? And that brings us back to this. And this is what makes you the coolest, most badass dude on the block. That. Okay? This. You want to be the coolest, most badass dude on the block? That's where it's coming from. Trust in yourself. So see, when you're sitting there chilling out, and you're calm, right? And you're feeling good. If you don't trust that autopilot, that you will find the right course of action, the right thing to say, not a moment before and not a moment after, but when and only when you need it, you will not be getting in your own way. You will stop blocking yourself, and the flow will be there. That will, like I said, the flow, because you're feeling good. You trust that the words are going to come to you when you need it. So this is what allows you. We talked about knowledge. right? We talked about feeling good, how you can feel good right away. If I say, be happy.
Be happy.
Right? Okay? I say, be present.
Be present.
Be present.
Be present.
Okay? Be right here.
Be right here.
Good. Okay? Say to me, feel good.
Feel good.
Say, feel good.
Feel good.
Good. Now look, when you're sitting there and you're speaking with the girl, you're not thinking a step ahead. And you're just feeling good in your body. Why? Because you have that underlying trust. It's something that your mind doesn't think about, but knows. All right? It's not a belief, it's an understanding.
Is this core confidence?
Different.
Yeah. Same kind of thing. Okay? Good. Now look, think of it like this. Do you guys know the difference between a belief and an understanding?
Mm-hmm.
Just semantics. A belief and an understanding.
Experience.
Yeah. I don't just believe that the right thing to say will be there. I understand it. All right? You don't just believe it, you understand it. So you don't need to keep telling yourself, I believe it. Come on, I trust it, I trust it. It's like, no, you understand. I trust that it will be there. Because you're in the moment, and those faculties, the upflow is there. All right? And look, this takes time to learn how to calibrate properly, and not external calibration, but internally to calibrate yourself. To know when to be in the moment, when it's time to think. All right? That kind of thing. But for the most part, you have that belief. And that's what allows you to speak with the woman. She's talking, and you're listening to her. And why can you be fully present and listen to her entirely? Because that one word, trust. You trust yourself to respond. And really, you don't think of the words, all right? When you go, like, when you're speaking to the girl and she speaks to you, you don't think of the words, you allow it to arise, all right? You allow it to flow out of you. It's being, not doing. You are not the doer. You're not trying to take credit for it. When you give that amazing line, like you have that really cool, punchy thing to say, you don't go, ha, that's me. You say, no, that came from somewhere beyond me, all right? I'm just the intermediary. Don't try to take credit. Just be the intermediary. Let it flow out. Has anyone here ever had an experience where when you're out at a nightclub, for example, or maybe whether it's public speaking, nightclub, or any, teaching, whatever, where you say things that are funnier than you yourself are capable of? Yeah. Right? Have you ever had stuff that just comes out and you're like, whoa, where did that come from? Yeah. Who said that? Right? That is awesome. And that is what I'm talking about here, all right? When you are just letting it flow out, okay? And you're not reaching, all right? You're not trying to strain yourself or stretch yourself towards an outcome. Because when you're stretching towards an outcome, what does that imply? You can be moving towards an outcome as the moment's unfolding. But when you're stretching for the outcome,
you're internally referenced.
Yeah. Are you feeling good where you are if you're stretching for an outcome?
No, you need that.
You're trying to push it, right? You're trying to push that outcome. You're not feeling good where you are. That's why to say, be happy, okay? Be happy where you are. And when you're happy where you are, you're not stretching. And when you're not reaching and grasping and flailing for that outcome, you're happy where you are. When you're happy in the moment, think of it this way. Everyone here has had the experience where you go to call up a girl and you're nervous about it, yes?
Yes.
Okay. Well, when you're not, that's why you're reaching for an outcome. You're not even necessarily focused on offering value. You're just thinking of what a big pimp you'd look like if you could take her out. You know, or how good it would be to hook up with her. Ironically, I think most guys, not all guys, but the majority of guys are more focused on what a big pimp they'd be if they dated her than the actual pleasure from the sex itself.
Yeah.
Is that not definitely true for sex in general with guys? Like, one example I like to talk about with that one? You know the stereotype of guys when they get laid for the first time and they finish within like 10 seconds? Right? Just as a survey, and I've done this with a lot of different people, and who knows what the result will be. How many people had the 30-second one? But let me ask the other one. How many guys, their first time having sex, never even finished? Anyone have that? My first time having sex, actually, I had sex for 4 hours. So I was like, I will finish, right? And then I couldn't have sex after that for like 2 weeks with my new girlfriend. All right, so look, and I thought I was going to die. Like one of those mice that has sex for like 11 hours and just dies. I thought that was going to be me, okay? All right, it's a true story. All right, her little sister, when I walked upstairs, like heard this whole thing for like hours. She was like, oh, and she ran away, okay? Right, and I just like stumbled out and I called my friends. I'm like, I did it. But this is the end. I'm gonna die, right? Okay? Alright? But really, there are a lot of guys who have the experience of finishing within like 30 seconds. But there's also a lot of guys who their first time having sex, they're like, Yeah, it's like hours, right? Like, it's like it didn't even turn out the way they wanted it to. And they're like, that's sex?
Yeah, that's it?
Right? Especially, you know, using condoms, right? Like, that's it? That's what this was? And that's because, for guys, the whole macho image, like being a macho guy who gets laid, is so tied up in your sense of self as a guy. So, in a lot of, first of all, let's talk real. Generally speaking, for the majority of people, who gets more enjoyment from sex, men or women?
Women.
Of course, right? Guys don't have orgasms like, okay? That's not what most guys are like, you know what I mean, right? That's more in reality. So the thing is, women get more enjoyment from it, right? I also think that's because women are more free, right? Like a lot of guys, because guys are caught up in the ego aspect of it, that's also why they're blocking themselves from enjoyment. In fact, like I said about sex before, when you really start to enjoy sex is when it's an expression of something rather than trying to just, you know, get new stimulation and new stimulation, okay? So, regardless, I guess we talk about letting go of the outcome, right? And there's two sides to let go of the outcome or not. On one side, it's like, you know, close, man, just close, right? And you have to have an outcome. Sometimes when you tell a guy to let go of the outcome, okay, sometimes what will happen is at first he'll be thrilled, right? Okay? He'll be thrilled because he'll be like, oh man, I had such a good time tonight. I had the best night of my life. I let go of the outcome. But you know what happens? A month later goes by and he still hasn't even, like, you know, kissed a girl or gotten a phone number, right? And he's like, I was having so much fun letting go of the outcome, I forgot to get the girls. Okay? So you see that sometimes, right? And at that point, you probably have to say, hey dude, I think we need a vision here that we're moving towards. We need an outcome. So sometimes that happens. Other times, though, and I think this is a lot more common, you also see guys who are so focused on the outcome that they're in the nightclub not having fun. They're not with the vibe. They're not in the moment. They are not happy with the moment the way it is, and they want to make that moment better. How do they want to make it better? They're out of state. So they go up, hey, can I get a female opinion? Hey, blah, blah, right? Trying to get that validation, trying to get that state increase because they're not feeling good in the moment. The moment is not good enough the way that it is.
Does this mean you can't pat yourself on the back once you have a success?
Do you want to know something? I think that, and a lot of people have said that, like, can I not give myself credit for getting success?
Yeah.
But you want to know something? It's an interesting dilemma because on one level, hey, I think it's great to feel the sense of self-efficacy of being competent. And I think not getting a result for too long in a row can be unhealthy for any guy. All right? Because then you've got to reassess what you're doing wrong. But you know another thing? Like, I write articles all the time. Right? I do a lot of writing. I do a lot of seminars and stuff like that. Take my writing in particular. I'll do a piece of writing, and a whole bunch of people will give me props on it, right? Has anyone here ever, like, been, like, into internet forums, and you write posts up, and you keep checking back to see the responses and stuff like that?
Yeah.
Okay? And the thing is, look, a lot of the time, people will give you validation, they'll give you props on it, and isn't that great? But you know what? Why did you do it? Why did you write that article?
You felt it was true.
You know, you felt it was true. But like, to me, the reason that I've tried to move towards for writing is it's an expression of creativity, right? It's like you have something inside of you and you want to shape that. And in the same way that meditation, it sharpens the sword, right? Like it allows you to become present. Well, in a lot of ways, through action is also a meditation, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Because through action, we can become present. So like playing sports or you know, being creative and creating things, whether you're into any kind of performing arts or whatever it is, in a lot of ways, that is stripping away those layers, dilating perception and allowing you to sort of access that higher self. And that's why I think a lot of guys are addicted to going out, because when they go out, they can, you know, they can sort of just move through the place and have fun, right? Bring the party, bring that energy, and it's such a fun thing. Isn't it funny, though, how a lot of guys, they're so obsessed with the validation that going out becomes painful, right? It becomes something that they're not looking forward to. But when it becomes an offering of value rather than a taking of value, that's when the real enjoyment comes in. And let me tell you, when it's about an offering of value, not a taking of value, you will have more fun than you could have, even then when you're a value taker and you get what you want. Because when you're a value taker, even when you get what you want, it's a very short-lived enjoyment. And you know what? If that's the mode that you're in, don't be hard on yourself and don't make an identity out of it for yourself. But I'm just saying, start moving towards a higher ideal. Think about evolving.
Where's the balance?
What's that?
Where's the balance between letting go of the outcome and being goal-oriented?
It's 100% common sense. It's just common sense. It's what you think it probably is what it is, right? You can be, you can work on self-development and try to improve your life situation, but don't make an identity out of your life situation. Don't make that who you are. You know how sometimes there's a stock crash and then people kill themselves? Right? People have a failure and they commit suicide because their entire identity has been destroyed. Right? You are not your life situation. Okay? You're something different from that. But improving your life situation is a great pursuit as well. All right? Actually, as a side note, if you want two different sort of sources of literature that you could really get into, one, is like the Eastern philosophical based concepts, but another one, which is a sort of counterpoint that I think anyone who's into this sort of stuff should read, is Ayn Rand. And she wrote two great books. One is called The Fountainhead, and one is called Atlas Shrugged. And I know if you guys go pick them up, you're going to hate me because they're both bricks. Okay? All right, you could kill some. Yeah, you could kill someone with it. One's like 1,500 pages, the other's like 1,000. But you know what? You read them?
I've read one of them.
You read one of them? Not some of the best 1,000 pages you ever read?
Yeah.
Yeah, amazing, huh?
Story.
Like rock your world, amazing, right?
I changed I don't have a major now because of one of those books.
Really? Okay, which one? Fountainhead or Atlas Shrugged?
Fountainhead.
Fountainhead? That's great.
I like the Fountainhead.
Do you want to know what the Fountainhead taught me about, by the way? It taught me not to worry what other people think and to create from yourself, right? So back in the day, if I'd be working on something and I'd be like, hey, what do you think of this, man? And trying to look at the way their eyes look to see what they like in the writing. Yeah. Now I go, no, stop it. Don't think like that. Create from yourself. Create your own vision, all right? And that comes back to that concept of having your own fresh set of eyes, all right? By the way, that same concept helps you incredibly with success with women as well. Because you say, this is my style. This is my way of joking around. This is my way of carrying myself. This is my way of pulling and sex and everything. And you can believe in it. All right? So that's why I love that book. But anyway, what Ayn Rand talks about is she almost has, her religion is life on earth. Right? Her religion is, we don't know where we're going after we die, but we want to create a paradise here on earth. That's essentially what she's saying. Not like a paradise, but your own, essentially creating the reality that you want. And there's a lot of amazing imagery in the book of characters like Henry Reardon or John Galt who, they can wear a suit, they can wear an expensive suit, but they wear it with integrity. You see the guy who wears the clothes that are too good for him and he's like, oh, it's like the clothes are almost wearing him. Mm-hmm. But, he can be, on one level, you can be, among high class. You can be among wealth. You can be among class. Even if you're not wealthy yourself, but you can be among it and comfortable in it. You can merge into the environment. But likewise, you could be maybe traveling in the third world. You can be in a sort of, some dive bar and having a blast, just having so much fun there, right? Mm-hmm. And that's a sense of, another great image in there was Gail Wynand. Was that the name? Gail Wynand? Yeah, and that's in The Fountainhead, right? And he's a guy who, he winds up being a sort of a tragic character, but the idea is that, he knows what he values, and he's an incredibly rich man, and he has his own attic filled with art, all right? And in there, he has some of the most expensive pieces in the world, but he also has just cheap things that he found that he likes. And see, unlike most people, why do they buy art? To put it on their wall as a sign of status. They don't even know why they like it. They don't have their own, remember we talked about having your own values? Mm-hmm. They don't even have their own tastes or their own values. But he has his own tastes and values of what he enjoys. And he puts that up there for his own enjoyment. He's not even looking for other people to see it, right? It's for his own enjoyment. All right? And that was sort of something that impacted me, really, doing things that you enjoy, right? I could live here in LA in some fat pad or something like that, but I choose to live, on the ocean in Hawaii because that's what I love. No one's ever going to see it because Hawaii is so far away. I don't see any of my friends or any of my social circle except the friends I have out there. But the point is, that's what I love, all right? And that's what I, would encourage you guys to do too. But anyway, look, let's stick on being in the moment and what that means to you. So we talked about having a trust in your own faculties. And when I say a trust, I mean a very deep-rooted trust. A trust that is not just a belief, but an understanding. All right? And trusting that. And so that any time that you're sitting there nervous or concerned, you say no. I just say, that's for me. When I start getting nervous about something, I just say that one word to me. It's trust. Just trust. I don't even say trust in my faculties. I just say trust. All right? I trust that if I'm in the moment, my faculties will take care of it for me. I have that trust. I want you guys to have that trust. I want you to start feeling it right now. I want you guys to start thinking now of situations where you did trust yourself and where things worked out amazing. Mm-hmm. Now look, what does this mean for you in terms of how you walk through the world? All right? What does it mean about, you know, your experience of the world? I guess you could say there's a certain way of walking through life that is just a lot more natural. Okay? Like, look, if you're in a fun environment, if you're here to have fun, and you're in that nightclub, remember we talked in the last few days about just being the person that you're meant to be, just having fun, right? Just cutting loose, having fun. If you're in a fun environment, merge into that, melt into that. Don't resist it. Don't get ahead of yourself. So what I want to kind of introduce to you now is a concept called walking through the world with ease. And I want you guys to write that down for me. Or really write it down for yourself. I want to tee this up. So we've hit a converging point, all right? A point where concepts converge, all right? You've got these different concepts, and they're about to go like this, okay, and lock in. And that is the idea of walking through the world with ease. So we talked about core confidence, having a strong reality, acting through your own intentions, masculine polarity, and being present. We talked about those concepts. And to me, when you take all of those concepts and you put them into sort of one expression, that's what I would call walking through the world with ease. So, let's say that as a man, there's sort of a deep masculine energy that you can tap into, where everything is light for you. Have you guys ever heard that expression? The world is a light place for this guy? Like, okay, if I were to ask you guys, is the world a heavy place for you or a light place for you?
Light.
You know, light? I mean, really think about it. Answer yourself honestly. Have you guys ever heard the expression, that guy's making things heavy?
Yeah.
Right? Have you guys ever made things heavy for yourself at times?
Yeah.
Right? Make things melodramatic for yourself, make things heavy for yourself. Well, the world can be a very light place for you. Okay? You can live lightly. The best way that I could put it is that you are moving with the current of the world and not against it. Isn't that what it's really all about? Moving with the current of the world, not against. Do you guys all know someone who's moving against the current of the world all the time? Yeah. Seems to be addicted to moving against the current of the world? Well, I want you guys to move with the current. And what that means is this. You don't have to be above the world or below the world. You don't have to be better or worse. But just simply move through the world knowing that you are a very necessary, inextricable part of the greater whole. Do you guys see what I'm saying here? You are not above. You are not below. You are just a part of the whole. You know, you can be equally at ease among affluence as among poverty. All right? You can be, you know, dressed formally and having fun. You could be dressed casually and having fun. All right? Why? Because you're not, you know guys how a lot of rich people make an identity out of it? Or poor people make an identity out of it? People of lesser means make an identity out of it? Well, you don't attach your identity to any of that. All right? So in the same way that you know that the ground is stable, like this, the same way that you know the sky is above you, in the same way that you know that you're breathing, like, okay? You have that understanding, okay? That the air is being drawn into your lungs. You can navigate the complexities of the world with the same certainty as you would just the most basic of facts. And this is straight from my notes, guys. All right? You just melt into it. So where other people are thrown off, stuck at what they fear, whining at what they think is unfair, your mind is dialed only for what's right in front of you. The way forward is to exist in each moment. You show anger when it's time to show anger. You feel grief when it's time to feel grief. And you have fun when it's time to have fun. All right? The overall order of things work fine for you, but you in no way feel confined or like you have to follow along. All right? At any second, you could just break out and do whatever you feel like doing. Not to impress anybody, but purely because you feel like it and it's something that you enjoy. All right? It's that core truth that you're connected with that strong reality and presence that makes having fun so simple. Because when you think about it, I guess you could say that enjoying life is just a natural consequence. Think of the guy at the club who can't have fun, right? They're sitting there with their drinks pressed up against their chest. They cannot have fun. The world is a heavy place for them. They're not happy with the moment that they're in. They're not happy with it. And they're thinking, oh, I can't have fun. So you see a guy that's having fun. You guys ever seen a dude who's just really popular? Remember we talked about this before. Say that you're really popular. You know that you have a ton of value to offer. You know that you're dressed the way that you're supposed to be dressed. You know you're friends with everyone there. You know you have things that people want. You know that you have a role that puts you in a position of authority. Does everyone remember this?
Yes.
Everyone remembers it.
Yes.
Well, when you have all that, the way that I'm talking right now is a natural consequence. Right? Like just feeling at ease in the world. And that's why you see people who seem so at ease and they're having so much fun. Because see, look, if you go out to a nightclub and you want to meet women, you say, okay, I'm just going to have fun. But in a lot of ways, there's a foundation upon which the fun is built. Most people cannot just go there and cut loose, can they? Most people are not having the most fun in the club. It's the guy who's having the most fun that has the attraction from women. Mm-hmm. But really, to start having fun, you need to have that foundation that's there. And most people build the foundation on external factors. They build that foundation on, what they look like, who their friends are, what they've got. But like I said, you don't have to. You could just be a guy. You're just a guy. And you have those skills. You have those skills to just melt into the moment. And because of that, because you know that you have a certain level of lightness and way of merging into the world, right? You can merge into the world. You can walk through the world with ease. When you have that sort of, you're not going against the current of the world. You're going with the current, right? It's like you've got all this input right here. This is you, right? That's you, the little stick man that you are. And all these things in the world are happening, okay? And you can just go with the current. You can allow it just to flow through you, to move through you. Remember I talked about the pickup artist pilgrimage? All right?
Yeah.
Okay, I get credit for that one. All right? The pickup artist pilgrimage. And how traveling and experiencing different environments invites you to learn how to be at ease in the world. How to walk through the world with ease. I want you guys to think about someone who you know. Is there anyone who you know? Think about it and think about it hard. And it has to be a guy. Think about some dude that you've met in your life who had it together in such a way that when you hung out with that guy, you always felt like everything was going to be cool.
Yeah.
You always felt like everything would be fine. You felt as though, if police busted in and said, hey, you got to shut down this party, that dude would probably find some way to talk to the policeman about it and it would just get resolved.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Right? Have you ever been in one of those modes where the world is you're just walking through the world with ease, and when people walk by, you just say hi to them and they wave to you, and like you see the bouncer at the door and you just shake hands with the guy and he lets you in even if it's some club you shouldn't be able to get into, or you see the people at the restaurant and you just joke around with them and they're having a good time. You see the guy at the elevator and you say, the elevator man, you say hi to him, you put a big smile on his face. Maybe you're going to rent a car, they won't give it to you, and you just talk to them in such a smooth way that the problem just resolves itself so easily. That's where these concepts like strong reality and presence and polarity merge into that sort of idea of walking through the world with ease. All right, that's what it really is. And when a woman walks with a guy who really walks through the world with ease, she feels completely secure to be in her most feminine self. All right, to just enjoy the moment. All right? That's really what's happening. And she will feel like she's walking on clouds with you. She's out with you and she'll feel like a princess. She'll feel like she's walking on fucking clouds, guys. Because you are just walking through the world with ease. That's like, remember we talked yesterday about the Goodfellas example, right? And the guy just, he knows everybody there and his friends are there and he pulls her into his reality and she's just like, wow, it's like her world is just spinning around. Well, we're talking today and this weekend about advanced concepts, right? And about living in total sexual abundance and having choices and knowing how to get the woman you want. Well, these are the kinds of qualities that make it very, very much an afterthought. All right? Being successful with women becomes an afterthought. It becomes a natural consequence of just the way that you live your life and going out and socializing with people. So to wrap it up and to wrap up this section, This foundation is what allows you to go crazy. It allows you to be what's called self-forgetting. Have you guys ever heard the expression self-forgetting? Well, memorize it. Self-forgetting. It means conscious, not self-conscious. It allows you to be spontaneous. Okay? It allows you to think of what to say at the appropriate time rather than having to strain. No straining. But more than anything, it is this foundation that makes people look to you. Do you remember we talked about firsthand, having a sense of reality that's based on firsthand, and having a sense of reality that's based on secondhand? Mm-hmm. This is what makes people look to you as a source of grounding energy. That's really what it is. When you think of your friend that had that vibe, see how people look to him as that source of grounding energy. And when you have that as a guy, and you're with the girl who you like and you're connecting, and you're leading the situation towards sex, it is only natural that sex is going to occur. Because she's going with the flow now. Because you're leading. You're leading the flow. She doesn't need to think about it. You're leading. And so sex becomes an inevitability. It just becomes a way to blow off steam or cement a moment. I want you guys to think about how this in many ways is an innate thing that girls are wired to look for. Think about a caveman. Does a caveman have a Rolls Royce sitting outside and some big mansion and all this different stuff? How could a girl tell if just some dude living in a cave, who's living in a cave with 5 other guys or more, how could she tell that that's the good caveman?
The way that he carries himself around the other cavemen.
Yeah, you know, it's this stuff here, right? He walks through the world with ease. He knows his world. That's how she would tell, and that's that primal thing. But most guys try to walk through the world with ease by putting all these superficial possessions around themselves and surrounding themselves with all these different circumstances, but they don't learn how to melt into the moment and go with the flow of the world, not against it. And where's the problem here? The problem is this. Most guys, they don't walk through the world with ease. All right? For most guys, the world can be a heavy place. Maybe they feel like victims. Maybe they feel approach anxiety. Maybe they're always trying to draw stimulation off of the environment. So they sit there in their state of being, one way that I would call it is almost like wilted. All right? They're wilted. They're sitting there kind of, you see a group of people just kind of sitting around like whatever. They're kind of wilted, kind of deflated, whatever. And then you see the girl that you want to talk to. And suddenly, you're going to try to snap into this like whole walking through the world with ease type vibe, right? You're just kind of sitting there like, oh, I'm bored. And then you're like, oh, there's a girl. Well, I do walk through the world with ease, right? Okay? And you're like, hey, right? And you're trying to get that on. So you see, this is not about a technique. This is not about a doing. This is about being, not doing. Do you guys remember that one? Yeah. Can you say that with me? Being, not doing. All right? And that doesn't mean that you don't have to approach people. It doesn't mean that you get to not be social anymore. Because inner game is like the chode's favorite excuse not to take action, isn't it? Is it not? Right? One of the reasons why I was so opposed to any talk of inner game for so long is that when I came into this, the guys who studied inner game were always the ones who would never approach, and they'd sit there at the restaurant talking about game all day and flirting uselessly with the waitress. And saying, did you see that? Did you see how she liked me? The waitress, right? They'll flirt with like the store girl, but they'll never actually approach anybody. So I got an association in my mind as like inner game being for chodes, because they were the ones that would talk about the rising phoenix or the weird anchor thing you put on your arm where you hypnotize yourself, and I'd be out at the Borders books and I'd see a girl I want to talk to and I'd go, I'm still scared. And now I'm a fucking moron because I just tapped my wrist like an idiot. All right? Okay? Right? Okay? Yeah, you know?
I tried that too.
Yeah, all right, you tried that too, right? You tried to pull my finger, right? Well, that's a different joke, okay? That's a different one. All right, now look. The thing is... I love you. Okay, all right, so the thing... Look. Okay, so the thing is... walking through the world with ease. Again, like I said, I want to conjure that image in you, okay? You just walk, you go with the current, all right? The world is light for you. And when you go, other people are brought into that bubble and they feel light around you, all right? It's a better way of being. It feels good in your body. Even just talking about this right now, do you guys feel good? Yeah. You know, you feel good, right? And in a lot of ways, this seminar is not about egoic learning. You know what egoic learning is? Egoic learning is where you say, okay, I want to learn this, so I have to have read every single book. And so you read through every single book, and then you check them off your tick list. You know what I'm saying? I've done that one. I've done this one. Look at me. I must be good now. Right? Because I've done that. Okay? I'm not a chode anymore. Look at all the stuff I read. But you see, what this is, this seminar in many ways is signpost. Remember I talked about this? It's like a signpost towards a certain way of being. It is signpost after signpost after signpost after signpost pointing you in a certain way of being. A better way of being. A way that feels good. A way that experiences depth. A way where you feel good in the moment. Alright? So I want you guys to take that from this. I want you guys to find a better way of being. And you cannot even imagine what a joy it is to me to do that. Alright? So when we talk about internalization, what processes do we go through to internalize a new reality? I want you guys to think about this. Why is it that everyone in this room wants success, but why is it that so many people will have a hard time achieving success? Many people, everybody in here, if you say, do you want success?
Yes.
Everyone wants success?
Yeah.
Of course everybody wants success. But the question is, will you be one of the glorious chosen ones who happens to get success, or will you be one of the masses of people who attend self-development seminars and never do anything with it after and just have a cool weekend and that's it? Which group will you be in? Now look, it's a fascinating area. All right? It's a controversial area. Like, you guys do realize this, right? That, like, all self-development in general is controversial. Everybody likes to debate on, ooh, is that the right path for self-development? Is this the right path for self-development? Is this emotionally healthy? You know, we're dealing with concepts like the nature of reality, and anytime that you're dealing with a concept like someone's nature of reality, their brains can fry. So look, being successful with women is one of those things where once you get it, you will look back in total disbelief at how that you found it difficult. You will say, I attended a 4-day seminar on this? On just walk up, be cool, and chat? And move venues and go home? I had to study that? Yeah, that fucking Tyler kept me in there for 4 days. All right? Core confidence this, strong reality that. Why didn't he just tell me to chill and just go chill and chat and shoot the shit? You know, make a quick connection and say, let's get out of here and go home. Why didn't he tell me that? Why didn't he tell me to just be cool, right? That is the operative term. Once you're good at this, it's like, dude, like, ugh. Like, you know, some guy, like, when you're good at this, some guy will be telling you about all his problems. You're like, oh, dude, just be cool. Like, blah. Just chill, you know, right? Okay, calm. All right, now talk to her. God, right? That's why naturals have a hard time with this. They hear about this, and they're like, what? What? Huh? You know, they don't get it. So look, at some point, you'll hit a point where you will not believe that it was this complicated. But for most guys, there's a glass wall that's lying in front of them. A glass wall lying directly in front of you that's separating you for the kind of success that you want. This goes for any type of success, doesn't it? Whether it's financial success, health success, success in relationships, lifestyle, all that stuff. There's like this glass wall between the haves and the have-nots. You know? When you guys look at someone who is a financial person who has it, it's like a glass wall between you and them, if you're a have-not. So, this is what we want to look at. We will call it your bearings. All right? And the concept that I want to introduce to you guys is called the bearings that makes your world make sense. The bearings that make your world make sense, we call it your map. We call it your reality. All right? So let's look again at what is reality. Your view of who you are, your view of what people are like and how they should respond to you, and your view of how the world works and what is possible. All right? It might be a reality that's empowering, and it might be a reality that is disempowering, isn't it? Do you guys all know people who live in a disempowering reality? Yeah. Do you guys know anyone who lives in a phenomenally empowering reality? Yeah. Great. Regardless of that, it gives you a sense of bearings because it makes your world make sense. So look, that's what it comes down to. Like, what are people getting out of this? When someone lives in a disempowering reality, they're getting something out of it. Nobody's living in a reality they're not getting anything out of. So surely they're getting something out of that reality. All right? What is it? Number one, it makes your world make sense. It gives you a sense of bearings. I have a question for you guys. Who here in this room would like to be able to walk through walls? Say I. I. Who here in this room would like to be able to float up and fly into the sky and fly wherever you want in this world? Say I. I. All right, guess what? I don't fucking believe you. I don't believe it. Some of you do, a couple of you do, but 99% of you don't. Why would I say that? Okay? Sounds cool, right? I know what you're thinking, man. You're going to go in the girls' change room, you're going to take her, right? You're thinking everything, okay? All right? And that's all good. Now, look, think of it this way. So, you want to be able to walk through walls, you want to be able to fly. All right. Great. Look, let me ask you a question. Does Britney Spears look very happy right now? No. Okay. All right. But what if I'd said, hey, who in here wants to have like millions of dollars? Everyone's like, me, right? Who here wants to have everyone loving them and doing whatever they want? Everybody, me, right? Who do you think is probably happier? Most people in this room are Britney right now.
Most people in this room.
Right? Okay. So if you think about it, why is that? What is going on there? Why did Britney shave her head? Okay. Why did she literally why is she in like such a state? She's like, God, my life, and just shaves her head, right? Not even knowing probably what's going on. All right? A lot of people look down on Britney. I have a tremendous amount of sympathy for Britney. I see what's going on with her, and I'm like, wow. I'm like, you know what? That is a lot of pressure for anybody, what she's under. Because it is called the fear of your own success, fear of your own greatness. You don't think that you have it? I beg to differ. Everybody has it. Every person in this room, and especially myself included, has more fear probably of their own greatness than of failure. Why? So let's go back to the walking through walls or being able to fly. So tomorrow you wake up because, hey, everyone in this room that said I, well, there was like this magic pixie dust that we put into your water supply. And everyone that said I at that moment is going to wake up, and tomorrow they're going to be able to walk through walls and they're going to be able to fly. And it's going to be the coolest thing in the world.
The hell is good symbol.
Okay? Thanks, dude. Okay? Thank you. So look, okay, thank you. Okay? All right. Okay? So now look. All right. So basically,
They have to have like 100% belief.
no, nothing like that.
It's like Peter Pan.
Yeah, but if you don't have 100% belief, the dust doesn't work. That's why it didn't work, okay?
Tinkerbell.
Yeah, look, the thing is, so you wake up tomorrow, all right? You wake up tomorrow morning. Even you're going to wake up tomorrow morning, all right? Okay? All right? Do you want to go to sleep now so you can get there faster? All right? Okay? So you're going to wake up tomorrow morning, and you're going to be able to fly. So first look, first thing that happens is you wake up, and you're like, you start to float up, you know, or say like, you walk up to your door, and you put your hand to touch the door, and suddenly your hand goes through the door. What the fuck, right? Your heart's like, right? You start to get scared. What's going on here, right? So you like walk through the door, okay? And then your mom goes, ah! Right? And your mom starts screaming and saying, you're not my son! Okay? Starts freaking out. All right? Then you're like, Mom, I'm sick of you always giving me shit all the time. All right? I can do what I want, including studying pickup if I want. She's like, no! Okay? And then suddenly, as you're yelling, you start to float, right? You notice, you're like, I'm floating. Okay? And you start to float up in the air, right? And you look down, and you're like, where's the ground? Where's the ground? You're floating up in the air. Well, guess what? Your neighbor saw it. You know your annoying neighbor that busts you whenever you try to have a party? Well, that neighbor just called, and they call the cops. And guess who else is coming? The press is coming. So now you've got the press there, and you've got the cops there, and they're looking at you, and they're saying, there's that guy who can do some stuff that we can't do. All right? And we're all going to judge him. Some of us are going to love him, and some of us are going to hate him. And your friends are weirded out. Your friends don't want to talk to you anymore because they're weirded out. They don't relate to you anymore. Your friends no longer relate to you. You don't know what your bearings are. You try to walk, like, you know, one minute you can open the door, the next minute you fall through the door. You're falling on the ground. You're floating up. You're trying to write your notes, and you're floating up in the air, and you don't know what's going on anymore. Everyone thinks you're a freak. All right, or amazing, who knows? But it's more strong opinions than you're ready to deal with. And that's what's happening. And it's not too pleasant. You go, dude, I just want to be normal again. I just want to be what I was. I don't need this. I don't need this to be happy. Just let me be what I was. All right? And that's what we could use as a very interesting explanation of what is called a success barrier. You guys have ever heard of success barriers?
Yes.
All right, well, success barrier is when your mind, you think that you want success, but your mind has blocks that it has put up to stop you from getting it. And it's absolutely real. And in fact, let me tell you, in getting any kind of success, be it financial, health, success in relationships, whatever it is, the further that you push beyond what your previous concept of where you should be at is, the more anxiety you're normally going to feel. There's a certain anxiety that takes place. Now let me ask you this. Have you guys ever had an experience where you learned something entirely new and that defied your reality and made you feel nauseous or confused? Are you pointing at this seminar? Okay, did anyone else feel like that during this seminar? Did anyone have trouble sleeping during this seminar? All right, okay. And how about from people who have taken boot camps? Has anyone here taken a boot camp and they just could not fall asleep the night of the boot camp? Yeah. All right, so we're seeing a lot of people like, whoa, other people had that too? What? Right? The reason why that is because when you're getting your idea of reality is getting tampered with, you'll get this weird kind of feeling and maybe it's like a little bit of anxiety. Maybe your mind keeps replaying all these other things, like all the different ramifications of it, and your world is getting messed with. Now look, every person in this room is a self-development junkie probably. I'm the world's greatest self-development junkie. I love it. I'm a hobbyist. I love it to death. So we're willing to push through that. But most people are not. That's why most of your friends who you talk about self-development with, it's like talking to a wall. It just goes in one ear, out the other. The blockers are up, all right? I'm not trying to create a cult-type atmosphere type here or anything like that. Like, don't talk to your friends. I'm actually saying be understanding of your friends is what I'm really trying to say, all right? Be understanding. Don't judge it. So look, let's talk success barriers. Success barriers, God. So much fear of having your reality thrown into disarray. Most people just don't want to deal with it. So let's think about success with women. Guys will talk all day about how much they want success with women, won't they? Yeah. They will talk about it. And this is where you become alienated from your friends when you get into this. Because say for the last 10 years you've got a group of buddies. And whenever you'd see some cute girl, you'd be like, oh man, I would love to hook up with that girl. I want that girl. She's so hot, right? Most guys will never say they want to date her. They want to sound tough. So I want to fuck that girl, right? That's how guys talk. Even if they actually would like to be in a relationship, that's how they'll talk. So the thing is you talk your whole life about getting all these girls. And you and your buddies bond. That's how you bond. Did any of you guys ever used to go out with your chode buddies as a chode yourself, and you'd go out to nightclubs on the weekend and kind of just sit around like that staring? And you'd go in the nightclubs and you'd say, this club's no good, we should just go to the next club. As if, right? As if it was good, you would have, after all these years, busted out the pistols and just started taking it down and owning it, right? Okay? As if, right? So, the thing is you're going to clubs, you're sitting in line, you're paying these expensive cover prices, buying overpriced alcohol, and talking about chicks with your friends all these years. So all these years you're doing it, and suddenly you find out about real social dynamics. And you say, look at this. All that talk we've been having, we could do it, guys. Look at this material. Look at these ideas. This stuff makes sense. I tried some of this stuff. It's working. Let's go and do it. And your friends are like, oh, dude, what are you reading that for, man? You're like, yo, let's get real here, guys. We're not all big pimps. Come on, let's do this. Yeah, dude, trust me. Look, anytime I wanted a girl, I could get the girl, okay? Right? You remember Nancy? Come on, dude. You remember Nancy? I saw her, I wanted her, and I got her. All right? You remember Jen 6 more years before that? I saw her, I wanted her, I got her. I'm batting 1,000, right? You tell your friends that you had a flake, a flaky number, they're like, you got stood up? I never get stood up. Of course you never get stood up. The only girl whose number you ever asked for chose you through your social circle, threw herself at you, and like a dumbass you didn't see it for 2 months, then eventually maybe Linda likes me. I'm going to ask her out, right? And Linda's been throwing herself at you for months, and then finally you're like, hey, want to go out? You're like, still batting 1,000, baby. Batting 1,000. Okay? That is the majority of guys. Most guys are they hear if they heard that for example, that I got a flake and I run a dating program, they'd be like, that guy runs a dating program and he got a flake? I never get flakes. Oh man, I totally don't need that. Yeah, me and Jen, back in the day. Alright? Okay? So that's the mindset, right? Is guys will talk all day about how great it would be to have success with women, but when we say, hey, let's cut the shit, let's make a point A to point B plan about how to do this, most guys are not going to do it. Now look, here's a key thing, and this is very counterintuitive. But as far as your mind is concerned, you guys remember how I said you are not your mind? Yeah. As far as your mind is concerned, your perception of reality does not have to be objective. It just has to be accurate enough to keep you going, to keep you alive. That's it. All right? We only perceive that which our mind, remember RAS, reticular activation system? Our mind only really perceives what we think is useful. For example, if you look at your arm, right? You look at it closely. Okay, look at it. Okay, say it's like, looks whatever it looks like. Now, think to yourself, is there any hairs on there? Okay? Now look more closely, like look really, really close. Zoom in more. Look for the hairs now. Okay? Whoever can find the hairs gets to be the coolest guy here or something, okay? So, okay, now there's value to that. Now, okay, I'm the coolest. All right, so now you are looking in there, and then now you can see the little hairs, right? Have you guys, in fact, reticular activation system even affects how you look at your girlfriend. You guys remember when you get your cute girlfriend, and then later as the relationship progresses, you start seeing little flaws that you didn't previously see, right? And then you're like, maybe she just doesn't look the same as before, but in reality, you weren't like in that trance. It's similar to how, like, when you have a girlfriend, the standard that you're going to hold her to is different than just some girl you'll go home with. Because when you're just going home with her, your brain says, oh, just inseminate maximum amount of girls, blah, blah, blah. That's like your reptilian, evolutionary caveman brain telling you that, right? So look, most people are not really too concerned about objectivity, all right? As long as their concept of reality keeps them alive, that's all that matters. Otherwise, you'd be seeing all sorts of random particles in the air and like random energies and stuff like that you don't need to see because it has nothing to do with your survival. So as far as your mind is concerned, if your view of reality has kept you alive for this long, flawed or not, it's easier to bury itself deeper into the existing reality than deal with the headaches of thinking through a potentially harder to understand, more complex view of reality. Ain't that the truth? All right? Think about it. Why do I want to... Have you guys ever just ignored an issue maybe? Like, say maybe you haven't say that you're traveling and you haven't gone to get a deep cleaning for your teeth in a long time. You know what I'm saying? Just like a random example, right? And you're like, I just don't want to have to go and deal with that right now. There's all these different things that we ignore that we don't want to deal with. Maybe you know that your health is going down, right? But you choose not to deal with it because you don't want the complexity of having to learn all this different stuff. So look, what are the ramifications of a new reality? Number one, the doubts that you have the mental energy to learn all the new ins and outs. Number two, the nauseous feeling, and I want to stress this, the nauseous feeling that you're going backwards in your understanding of the world. Because isn't that the truth, right? It's like when you are getting exposed to new reality, there's this nauseous feeling that your understanding of the world is going backwards, and you don't want to face that. And lastly, and this is a very subconscious one, a sort of instinct that people might not accept the new you. And that one is very, very powerful, all right? Most people confronted with a new reality, even a reality that has infinitely more potential, their minds will say, screw off, man. I'm doing fine with this reality, all right? Shut up. No, I don't want to deal with this. We're doing fine with this reality. By the way, in terms of politics, you guys understand in like politics the principle of tolerance? Like having tolerance for other people's views and other people's beliefs. And then other people come and they go, no, this is the truth. Right? That's the truth. We have to impose the truth. Well, a philosophy of tolerance in politics is, comes from, in many ways, that foundation that we all do live in somewhat of a subjective reality. Even if you're a believer in objectivism and human beings' capacity to see the world for what it is, no matter how objective you think you are, there's subjectivity meshed into there. And different people have different lifestyles based on where they live, based on their upbringings, and we all have to tolerate that in each other. That is a principle of tolerance in politics. I just thought that I would mention where that fits in this. But regardless, look, where does this fit in your reality? What would happen if every time that you learned something was more accurate, you started to doubt your existing reality and just went with that?
You never make a decision.
Locked in indecision. No? Do you guys know anyone like that? Right? People that are continually locked in indecision. They are too open-minded, right? It's good to be open-minded, but there's a point where you're too open-minded. You're looking for too much input. Is it this? Is it that? All right? Maybe it's bad to say that you could, maybe, I don't know, maybe you can never be too open-minded, but the point is that they're just scattered, all right? They don't have that ability to just, have you guys ever heard the expression, people of power make snap decisions and just go with it? All right? Like, you know how you see people in power and they look like they know where they're going all the time? That's not necessarily like that. In reality, they've just learned, it's like, look, you just look at the situation as best you can and you go with what you know at that time. If something happens later, you trust in yourself to rectify it. Now look, whenever you decide that your idea of reality may not be what you think it is, that puts you into disarray. And when you're put into disarray, what happens to your social status?
Go down.
So why would people have maybe evolved an instinct to ignore outside input?
To protect their social status.
What's that?
Protect their social status.
Yes.
They don't want people freaking out because they look like they might not know what they're doing.
Exactly.
Even if they suck, they're like, well, I know what I'm doing, even though I suck.
So see, we have a mechanism, right? We have a mechanism, exactly as you said, a mechanism which makes us instinctively grip onto our reality so that we can appear to be sure of ourselves, so we can appear to have a strong sense of certainty. Do you guys remember how I said that, how we spoke about people look to others who have a strong sense of certainty? So of course, we have a mechanism that says don't be too open-minded to outside beliefs. We can totally blow through this mechanism easily, by the way, and we'll talk about that. But there's a mechanism that exists. So you guys might have felt that feeling where when your reality is expanded too drastically, you feel the need to take a nap, or, right? You're like, I just like to nap anyway, right? Or maybe you feel like you can't sleep. It could be one or the other, all right? Because having to reconsider your worldview is stressful. It's stressful on you, and it's stressful even on your immune system. Have any of you guys ever felt so stressed when looking at a new reality that you could even feel yourself getting almost run down?
Sure.
Right? Had that experience? Okay, that's good.